and I took Lake City by quote-unquote $1 billion in the play-in game.
On the North Idaho Prepcast, we're all about that North Idaho life.
Man, you talk about Wallace and what they've been able to do this year. Quietly just being, the steady stalwart up north in District 1. They've been dominant.
From Bonners Ferry all the way down to Grangeville, we tackle the biggest stories in North Idaho sports.
This Genesee team is for real. We know what we saw last year. They're I think in the driver's seat to repeat.
It's the North Idaho Prepcast with Ryan Scaggs. That's right. Welcome in another edition of the North Idaho Prepcast here on IdahoSports.com, your weekly stop down on the big headlines from District 1 and 2 high school athletics in the great state of Idaho. My name is Brandon Baney. Let's bring in our North Idaho resident and expert, Ryan Scaggs. Yo, what's up, Scaggs?
Yeah, very congested, Ryan Scaggs. Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, down with the sickness a little bit this week.
Battling a sinus infection, those type of fun things that it always happens, like as soon as the weather turns, like it usually creeps in. I get it like right at the beginning of fall. So here I am, battling through it, playing hurt.
Yeah, I know you're feeling a little strain in the nasal passages and the throat and the voice a little bit. So if you want to today, I can just say some stuff and you can just give the...
Sounds good. Yeah. I'll talk a little bit. It's not too bad, but I've been drinking the throat coat tea, so yeah.
Yeah. That's the joke in our family. My dad is, of course, a boomer, and boomer, not just by actual demographic, but boomer also in the way he acts sometimes. And we'll send texts and he'll just respond with the big thumbs up, the giant sized thumbs up emoji. That's his go-to response on everything. So
possible, and then let it go.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, good times for sure. All right. The North Idaho Prepcast. We are broadcasting live on the IdahoSports.com YouTube channel, Facebook page, and X account. You can go back anytime and watch the North Idaho Prepcast or any of our Prepcasts really on replay anytime at those three destinations as well. You can also listen to the North Idaho Prepcast at IdahoSports.com. All of our Prepcasts are immediately on the left side of the homepage. You can also listen to this podcast wherever you download and subscribe to your podcasts. Apple, Google. Actually, no more Google. I got to get used to not saying that. Google Podcasts went away. Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, etc. So there you go. Okay. We are in this vortex where fall championships are wrapping up. Girls basketball practices started earlier this week. I'm not ready for that necessarily. Girls basketball previews will be coming soon-ish on IdahoSports.com. That's the best that I can promise you there. Let's talk about the fall sports that are wrapping up, though. We had state volleyball and state cross country this past week. Let's just start with volleyball. Let's quickly take a tour of what happened. We thought there was the chance that a couple of, North Idaho teams could come home with first place trophies. Ended up not happening. We had two teams make very spirited runs to the absolute final. And I think we have to start with the Lakeland Hawks at the 5A state tournament. Ryan, you and I were very bullish on Lakeland before the season even began. They came in as the number 1 seed. They stubbed their toe right away to the number 8 seed, Twin Falls, and lose. But from there, they battled back and got all the way back to the championship on Saturday against Twin Falls. They come up just short again. So Twin Falls, the 8 seed, your state volleyball champions.
Yeah, and Lakeland, though, hats off to that group. I mean, you stub your toe in the first round to that number 8 seed that ends up winning the state championship. I mean, I don't know what's going on with the rankings there, but that Twin Falls team was playing absolutely lights out through the tournament as well. But to battle all the way back through the consolation side, going through the loser of the semifinal match, the loser of the first quote unquote championship match or the championship round match, and then to get their way all the way back to the title game. I mean, that's, if you're going to stub your toe in the first match, I mean, that's what you want to see from your crew, is that if you can keep battling and fight and live to play another day. And that's what they did. So I'll eat a little crow with them not winning the championship, but I don't know anybody that picked Twin Falls. But I mean, hats off to them and getting a state championship there. That was an extremely impressive effort.
Yeah, Twin Falls swept the opener 3-0, but all 3 sets were hotly contested: 25-20, 25-21, 25-23. And from there, Lakeland beats Middleton in 3 sets, Pocatello in 4 sets. They beat Wood River in 3 sets. They beat Idaho Falls in the 3rd place game in 4 sets. They then beat Twin Falls in the first battle on Saturday in 3 sets, and it set up the penultimate, winner take all, do or die second championship matchup. It's only a best of 3. It's not a best of 5. It's only a best of 3, and Twin Falls wins it 25-21 and 25-21. So you're talking about 8 points short potential. I mean, Lakeland got so close, and they had to rattle off like 5 wins in a row just to get back to Twin Falls. It was crazy.
That's an impressive effort, and to even get the rematch against Twin to force that penultimate championship match was impressive. But you look at the teams that they had to go through along the way. I mean, there was no easy matches. I mean, when you lose that opener, and then all of a sudden you're playing Middleton, and it's like, oh, what? And then you have to go play who some people picked as the champion in Pocatello. Then you go play Wood River, who was another contender. I mean, like, you had to go through the murderer's row to find yourself all the way back, and playing a really good Idaho Falls team. I mean, that was, going on the road, going opposite corner of the state. I mean, in an expansive venue. I think that has some to do with it too. I think there's an adjustment factor for the girls. But yeah, a great season. 2nd place isn't anything to cry about. I think that's a great finish. Do they want the championship? I absolutely believe so, but I think you got to give credit where credit's due, and Twin played in lights out tournament
for sure. I had Lakeland and Pocatello meeting in the championship. Instead, they met in a loser out game like on Friday, so that was like pretty stark of just how much Lakeland had to climb to get back to the final. So Lakeland takes home 2nd place. Troy takes home 2nd place. The dynasty has been toppled at the 2A state tournament. This was at Jerome High School. Butte County beats Troy in the undefeated semifinal Friday night in 4 sets, 3-1. And then Saturday, Troy battles back to the 3rd place matchup against Oakley, and they actually fall to Oakley in that 3rd place matchup in straight sets, 3-0. And then Butte County defeated Oakley for the championship. So Troy, I misspoke earlier and said they brought home 2nd place. They brought home 3rd place from that 2A state. All dynasties come to an end at some point. What Troy has been able to do these past 4 or 5 years has been unprecedented. It's been really fun to watch, and Troy's not going to be down for long.
No, and I mean, I think they had a great effort and taking 3rd place. But I mean, like you said, good things must come to an end, and I think that you don't want to let a team beat you twice, and I think that's what happened in that Butte County match was that getting beat, kind of stunned in that one. I don't want to say sleptwalk into the match with Oakley, but that wasn't the same team in that championship or in the 3rd place match. And so is it a great season? Absolutely. I mean, is it still one of the premier teams in North Idaho? Absolutely. Just didn't get the result at the state tournament when they needed to show it at the end of the season.
Yep. Also at that 2A state tournament, we had Prairie and Genesis Prep each reach Saturday, or I guess technically Friday night, the very last games of Friday night. They both fall in loser out games to top 4 teams. Prairie falls to Oakley in 5, the eventual 2nd place team 3-2. So the Pirates really battled tough. Genesis Prep loses to Hagerman in 4, 3-1. But along the way, Genesis Prep, yes, they made their first appearance ever at state, had to play Troy right away. And they actually took Troy to 5 sets in that opener. It was the 8 versus the 1. G Prep nearly pulled it off, but Troy wins in that 5th and final set, 15-8. From there, Genesis Prep gets their first win at state in school history. They beat Wilder in a loser out matchup, 3-1. So this was a big state tournament for Genesis Prep as well, and Prairie.
Yeah, for both teams. And I look at Genesis Prep, though. I mean, you talk about what they're able to do. I mean, you don't want to ever say like a loss is a win, but when you push Troy to the wire in 5 sets, I mean, that was a team that I wouldn't want to face in the next match because there's some confidence going into that group. But hats off to great seasons from both teams as well. But Genesis Prep, what a fun story this season that we saw out of that Jaguar group.
Yep. Okay, the rest of the state tournament action, those were the only teams that brought home trophies were Troy and Lakeland. We had one other top 4 finish, Genesee, at the 1A state tournament. They fell to Rockland first thing Saturday morning in 4, 3-1. Rockland ended up taking 3rd place. Grace Lutheran, first championship of any kind in school history from Pocatello there. So
I'll give props to Sean Kane because he called that one. He said Grace Lutheran, keep an eye out for them. So I'll give credit where credit's due that he called that, and that's a cool win for that group too. Congratulations to those ladies.
Yeah, there's a very soft spot in my heart for Grace Lutheran. Of course, I lived in Pocatello for 5 years. That was our church, was Grace Lutheran as well. So way to go, Royals, winning the state volleyball championship there. So Genesee finishes top 4. You also had St. John Bosco there competing at state. They go 2 and out. That was at the 1A tournament. And then these last 3, Ryan, I'll kind of just go through what happened, and you just kind of tell me the one thing that stood out to you. 6A, we had Coeur d'Alene. They fall to Owyhee 3-0. Then they beat Rocky Mountain 3-1. And then they fall to Centennial in 5. The 5th set went extras. They fell 18-16 in that 5th set. So Coeur d'Alene's season ends at 1-2 at the 6A state tournament. The 4A state tournament, we had Bonners Ferry. They go 2 and out. They fall to Fruitland and Snake River in consecutive matches there, basically Thursday and Friday. So their run ends at 0-2. And then at the 3A tournament in Moscow at Memorial Gym at the University of Idaho, we had Grangeville coming in as the number 5 seed. They fall to Nampa Christian 3-0. They beat Firth 3-1, and then they fall to Ambrose 3-1 in a loser out battle. So they, like Coeur d'Alene, went 1-2. What stood out to you from those 3 teams?
Seeding matters. I mean, that's what really stands out. I think you can have a great season, but you know your rankings and how you get seeded, it does matter. And going into the state tournament, there's no easy games. All those teams that are there are deserving of playing in that tournament, and so you're not going to have a cakewalk. I mean, we saw that in how many brackets did we see an 8 seed push the 1? So, and it only gets harder from there when you get like the 7-2s. There was a ton of upsets in those matches too, if you want to walk through all the brackets. The high seeds this year fared fairly well. I mean, they didn't play bad. So, but great seasons for all of those teams. It just didn't obviously end up the way they wanted, but at least you got a win. You're not going 2 in barbecue, as you would say. Picking up a win does matter. It helps. But, I mean, I know that those teams they're looking forward to the next season's coming up. We'll talk more about in weeks to come. But yeah.
Yep, for sure. So congratulations to all of our volleyball teams from North Idaho that went down and competed so well. It was so much fun to see them all compete. All right, state cross country was this past weekend as well, Ryan, at Eagle Island State Park in Eagle. It was a downpour. These were not ideal conditions to I mean, I guess I'm not a big runner, obviously. The body type doesn't fit. But yeah, I would say if I was going to run, I guess I wouldn't mind it dumping rain on me. At least you're going to stay cool and you're not going to feel the sweat as much. But man, for an actual professional runner like these young men and women are, probably not ideal to go running in an absolute downpour. And not only that, we had lightning delays at certain points. It was just every corner of the state, I feel like Friday and Saturday just had nothing but nonstop rain. Really unprecedented. Usually certain areas will, but man, everywhere I was checking in, it was like, yep, it's raining. It was crazy statewide.
I'll knock on wood then, because I got lucky Friday night down in Lewiston because we didn't have nothing. It was great.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, I mean, it rained up into about an hour before game time, but then nothing. But yeah, checking the weather conditions down there. I mean, I saw, photos on social media and videos and stuff. It was wild. I mean, there was parts where there was standing water on the course, and I mean, it looked like they were doing the steeplechase in some places. It was just nuts. So to have the times and have the results that some of these teams did was nothing short of impressive, because it was not ideal conditions for a state cross country meet.
Yeah. It was the last couple of years, the weather's been really nice. This year was not ideal. So let's just hit the highlights here. We'll just go 6A, work our way down. Obviously the big story statewide, Coeur d'Alene boys continue their cross country dominance. It was very tight with Rocky Mountain though. We knew those were the two preeminent programs coming in. Coeur d'Alene wins the 6A boys cross country championship with a total of 40 points. Rocky Mountain takes second with 51. And again, in cross country, smaller numbers are better. Coeur d'Alene finishes with 2 runners in the top 10. The Servey Skinner brothers. Max takes third. Zach takes fourth. They are both seniors. And then you had Gabe Hewell finish 13th. Rowan Henry took 14th. And Mitchell Reetzy took 16th overall. So all 5 guys in the top 16 for Coeur d'Alene. That's why they won the title.
Yeah. I mean, and the finish of that race was pretty intense too. I don't know if you saw the video of it or not, where the Meridian runner, I believe, was the one that was the medalist, came from behind. He was a few paces behind the leader group there and ended up legging it out at the end and getting the championship, which was cool. But yeah, I mean, Coeur d'Alene is being Coeur d'Alene. That's the team we know, is that they're consistent. They run as a group. They finish as a group. They place well as a group. So, I mean, nothing short of another impressive effort from them.
Yeah, Jack Sheasley from Boise and Max Servey Skinner from Coeur d'Alene were the leaders coming to the final stretch, and Nate Stadlanter from Meridian had the late kick, like you said. Ends up winning by 2 seconds over Sheasley. Sheasley beats out Max Servey Skinner by less than a second. So they were both at 14:57. Sheasley was 57:32. Max was 57:97. So that was those top 3 all right there. It was a very thrilling finish for sure. On the 6A side, Coeur d'Alene was the highest placing team. They took 9th overall in the team race. I mean, this was dominated by Rocky Mountain, Boise, Timberline, Capital. Those were kind of the top 4 teams. They had a lot of the best individuals. Highest placing runner from North Idaho was actually from Lake City. Hazel Kunkel takes 14th overall. So congratulations to Hazel Kunkel from Lake City.
My thumbs up. Yeah. Well, that was a great job by her. I mean, you look at the conference and everything and what you've got in North Idaho, and I think the boys team in Coeur d'Alene obviously gets much of the notoriety, but there's still, a bevy of high quality runners on the girls side too. And we'll talk more about them later, but the other classifications, but yeah, still congratulations to Hazel. That's an awesome job. 14th at state. I mean, that's an accomplishment that I wouldn't even be able to touch. So that's awesome.
Yeah, it was definitely a cool performance for sure. And that's kind of what we'll do here. We'll highlight the top team and then maybe the top individual from each of these meets as we go along. And yeah, you can just chime in when you want to. Otherwise, I can just go through them. I'll pay better attention to what you're doing on the screen there. Okay. We had the 5A races as well. So the girls 5A was the first varsity race of the day. Actually, they got the ball rolling. We had Lakeland finish 9th overall in the team standings. The highest individual was Moscow's Cora Crawford, the junior. She takes 12th overall. That was the 5A girls. For the 5A boys, the highest placing team was Moscow at 11th overall, and only the district champion, I believe, got to send their full. Well, no, Sandpoint was there too, I guess. Moscow takes 11th, Sandpoint takes 12th. Highest placer from the 5A race was Lucas Clements from Lewiston. The sophomore takes 10th place overall there. That was the 5A competition. 4A girls, 4A boys. 4A boys was the second to last race of the entire day. Highest placing team from North Idaho, Timberlake. They take 6th overall. Highest individual was Caleb Royce from Timberlake as well, the sophomore. He took 8th in the boys 4A competition. Girls 4A. This is where we'll stop down because you had Timberlake take 3rd overall, 98 points. Nobody was going to catch Sugar Salem. They went with 65 on the 4A girls. But Teton takes 2nd at 82. Timberlake was 3rd at 98. So the Tigers bring home a trophy, but more importantly, and Vanessa McLaughlin did take 2nd overall for Timberlake, but the individual champion comes from North Idaho once again. Annabelle Carr from Coeur d'Alene Charter, the junior, quickly becoming one of the most storied runners, not just in Coeur d'Alene Charter history, but, when we talk about North Idaho athletes and what they're able to do. Annabelle Carr from Coeur d'Alene Charter continuing to excel, another state title.
Yeah, I mean, what hasn't been said that we've talked about in the past is, just she's dominant, and another championship title, and just has had a great career. And hats off to her, and hats off to Timberlake as a team third place. That's huge for that group. That's an awesome accomplishment for that team, and representing North Idaho very well in a very strong field too.
Yes, a lot of good contenders for sure. 3A races on the girls' side. We had Grangeville take 9th overall. Highest placing runner was got to go down a ways here because East Idaho always seems to dominate this thing. Elizabeth Walsh and Alexis King from Grangeville both go back to back, 44 and 45. Alana McClimtank from Priest River takes 48th overall there. Boys side, we had the hot prediction from our good friend Max at the Bonner County Daily Bee that Braden Lamana from Priest River might be your state champion. He takes 4th overall. Corbin Johnston from North Fremont ends up winning the individual title, but still 4th place finish for Braden and Lamana. That was a great performance there. Kellogg was the highest placing team. They took 7th overall, and Kellogg had a top 10 finisher as well in Riken White. And then the 2A races here, Ryan, 2A girls, we had Logos take 7th overall. Prairie was 8th in the team races. The highest individual was Emma Dara from Logos. She took 12th overall. And then the final race of the day was the boys 2A. And this is, again, 2A and 1A schools. 1A schools have to compete as a 2A. The Logos Knights came close, but this Rockland team, so dominant. Rockland wins the team title by 20 points. Logos took second with 88 points, 20 behind Rockland's 68. And for Logos as well, they had the second overall runner in John Henry Crapuchettes. He took 2nd overall behind Rockland's Hayden Smith.
Yeah, and by that time I heard that the course was like running the baton race. Like if you're running the baton that you do in the Marine Corps, it was just muddy and just beat up. So, I mean, the fact that those runners came through and made it with the times that they did, hats off. Logos getting a runner-up finish in the state cross country is impressive.
Yeah, so Crapuchettes took 2nd overall, and then Bear Lopez from Logos took 9th. So very strong cross-country performances there across the board. Hey, we're already soaking wet from the downpour that happened at state cross-country. Let's get a little wetter. Let's jump in the pool, huh? The state district swim meets were held this past weekend at the University of Idaho in Moscow. Lake City wins the 6A girls district title. Coeur d'Alene wins on the boys side. And in 5A swimming, Sandpoint sweeps the team titles for the Sandpoint girls. 7 district championships in a row. And now they all go down to Boise, the old YMCA down there in Boise, the only place that can host state swimming because it's the only place big enough. We'll see how our North Idaho swimmers do. A couple of interesting kind of just individual notes. And this was sent from the head coach at Lewiston, Donnell McKee. Big thanks to her for sending us these results. Noah Crossler of Moscow sets district meet records in both of his individual events. There were a couple of other district records that fell as well, but Noah was the only one who did it twice and in both of his events. Sophomores take first place in both the 200-yard freestyle and the 500-yard freestyle. Malin Sorbeck from Lake City on the girls' side, Ryan Schroffnefel from Lewiston on the girls' side as well in the 200 and 500-yard free. So way to go, swimmers.
Best of luck to them at the state swim meet down in Boise, and hopefully we see some more state championships coming back up north. A balanced field, I would say, this year, but I think there's plenty of talent in the pool. So, maybe they'll settle it. If there's some ties, we'll settle with a game of Marco Polo.
Yes, really, team races. Bishop Kelly is just so hard to beat in the 5A ranks. But Bishop Kelly is no longer a 5A school. They moved up to 6. They took the really brave step of moving up to 6A in swimming this year. They stayed at 5A for most every other sport. Soccer and swimming, they jumped up to 6A. So that kind of opens things up a little bit. Why couldn't it be
in and step in that door and find themselves battling for a championship? That'd be great to see.
Yeah, why couldn't it be Sandpoint? I know Twin Falls traditionally has kind of a strong swimming program as well. So we'll see at that 5A meet. For the 6A side, the Boise boys are just dominant. It's going to be hard to supplant them. But I think people forget this. Lake City is the 2-time defending state champion in 6A girls swimming. Last year, of course, a little controversial. Timberline thought they had beaten Lake City, and then a girl that Timberline had used in a couple of relays was ruled ineligible. She had competed in too many events. They were disqualified in a couple of relays, and Lake City went from second place to first place. But they win the title fair and square, and so they are looking for the three-peat. Now that Bishop Kelly has been added to the mix, maybe that will water down the field a little bit for like a Timberline or a Boise, and maybe Lake City can maneuver through and win their third straight title. It's going to be interesting to see it all unfold. That's for sure.
Yeah. I think the consistency within your events, and that's where it's going to come into play, is, you're going to look at your individual champions and titles. And I look at this in the wrestling scope, is that, championships aren't necessarily won by how many state champions you have in the individual events. It's the kids taking second, third, fourth place. They get those team points, and that's where you build up your leads, or you catch teams that are in front of you. So it's no different than in the pool. So I would expect to see, even in 5A, like we talk about Sandpoint, what about Lakeland? That's another team that's been successful too. They're sneaky right there too. So, that's a team that's had some success as well.
Yeah, Lakeland, I'm trying to remember the last name. It's escaping me right now, but they've had some siblings the past couple of years, boy and girl siblings that have performed really well for each of Lakeland's respective teams. Yeah, if you look at the team scores, Lakeland did take second to the Sandpoint boys, and they actually took fourth behind Moscow and Lewiston in that girls race. But there's definitely some individuals that will be on point. Mia Driggs from Sandpoint is a name I think of right away. She set a new meet record this past weekend. So it's going to be a lot of fun. And how about this, Ryan? In the chat, Coach McKee from Lewiston, Moscow, and Lakeland Swim all on the same bus on our way to Boise. Hey, good luck, everybody. Safe trip, first of all. What
a week for Coach McKee. She could get have a nice trip to state with her team, and then, with her significant other, maybe get a win Friday night in the Kiwi Dome with the Kendrick Tigers. So,
yeah, it'll be a jam-packed weekend of activities for sure. Good luck to all of our swimmers. Please knock some of those Boise teams down a peg, huh? Let's do it.
Absolutely.
For sure. All right. Well, that'll put a wrap on it. You might be thinking, hey, football, quarterfinals, some big matchups coming up. We're going to save Ryan's voice. Anything that needs to be said about not just North Idaho teams, but the entire state has already been said on Gem State Game Day. We recorded it Monday night on the IdahoSports.com YouTube channel, Facebook page, and X account, on the Instagram account as well. So you can go back and watch Gem State Game Day if you missed out. We go through every matchup with a fine-tooth comb, give you the key storylines. We recapped all of the previous week's playoff games as well. So it went about 2 hours. So, break it up into chunks if you have to, but otherwise, that's where all your football coverage is going to be this week. All right, Ryan.
Great games up north. You got doubleheader in the Kiwi Dome, then Coeur d'Alene hosting. Post Falls is on the road. There's some solid games this weekend. So good luck to all the teams up north.
Yes, we will be bringing you coverage. There are 24 quarterfinal games statewide. We will be bringing you coverage in some form or fashion of 17 of those 24 quarterfinal matchups. And again, that's impressive considering there's one Thursday night game. I think there's 3 Saturday night games. And for the most part, Friday, all of the games are single standalone games at 7:00 in various locations around the state. Nobody can match the resources, personnel, and talent that IdahoSports.com has when it comes to bringing you these state playoff broadcasts. Yeah, that's for sure.
I'll give us kudos because, I know what it goes in the behind the scenes with you guys like you and Paul, scheduling all this stuff and making sure that all the equipment's on site, all the schools know that we're coming. There's a whole bunch of things that go into it. And then obviously the on-air talent too, the other guys that we have doing games. We've got some phenomenal broadcasters that do a great job and really care a lot about these student athletes in these communities. And so we appreciate those folks that work here, that do the games. But also we appreciate those that listen, because obviously us flapping our gums during a game on Friday night doesn't happen without the support of like.
Ryan froze. He was going to say something really nice about all of our great local advertisers because these games do not happen without them. That is for sure. So if you're looking for enhanced broadcasts, look no further than IdahoSports.com. We know these teams, we know these towns, we know these players, we know these families and coaches. IdahoSports.com, 17 of the 24 quarterfinal games. You can check if your favorite team is going to be covered by clicking on the Game Streams tab on the homepage at IdahoSports.com. All right. Thank you for tuning in to the North Idaho Prepcast, everybody. For Ryan Scaggs, perpetually frozen, my name is Brandon Baney. We will see you next time on IdahoSports.com.